Representative Paulina Luna dropped some insane claims about Jeffrey Epstein and the individuals, better said pedophiles, involved after emotional briefings and testimony from Epstein survivors before Congress that had Nancy Mace literally walking out in tears over the things that she heard. Luna, as you're about to see, says this whole thing is way bigger than we ever anticipated, and rich and powerful people need to go to prison. I have two clips for you here, both equally disturbing, and each contains its own dose of bombshell information that you need to be aware of. Luna, in this first clip, describes some of the victims' testimony and is then asked about whether she would support the discharge petition filed by a representative from Kentucky, Thomas Massie, that has gained 134 votes, but currently 215 House Republicans are blocking. Check this out. I'm Zach Costello.
The biggest thing that stands out to me is the victims themselves have stated that this is a lot bigger than I think anyone anticipated. We are obviously going to be requesting the SARS reports from Treasury, and also following up on that. There's some very rich and powerful people that need to go to jail. I think everyone's been frustrated as to why that hasn't happened before. But it is very much so a possibility that Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence asset working for our adversaries. But also, I think the questions that we have is how much did our own government know about it? And so there's more to follow, and I'm sure you'll be hearing from the chairman momentarily. But I do applaud the victims from coming forward, because we heard from a woman who was as young as 14 years old when she was victimized multiple times by Jeffrey Epstein. So that's hard to hear.
Will you sign the discharge petition, the massive discharge petition?
I think that the files will probably be released prior. I don't know why Comer hasn't. I think that he should do it, so it wouldn't even have to come to a vote. But I mean, obviously, I've been a huge advocate, even when I was the only one in Congress calling for the release of this file. So I think I'd be happy to, yes. Thank you.
What do they call for the victims? Do they want those files released?
The victims want information to be out there, but they don't want their personal information, I think, for good reason to be out there. So I think from the get-go, even the Attorney General stated that there's victim information that you have to make sure that's private, being that some of the victims also, too, are as young as 14, and it's child pornography. No, thank you, guys.
So way bigger than we ever anticipated, because there is very much the possibility that Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence asset working for our adversaries. And how much did our own government know about it? So basically, he lured rich and powerful people in using underage or young women on behalf of America's adversaries. And it gets worse. Here is Luna revealing that more disturbing victim testimony, and that these victims did name names in this hearing.
Well, there's 33,000 pages that have been released. I have to at least look over some of them. I'd like to get through all of them before I decide whether or not I'm going to do that, but I think that they've basically released everything except for the victim information, which obviously we don't release that. One thing to note, that today when we were actually talking to some of the victims, one of the women stated that at 14, when Epstein started to victimize her, that she has no recollection of some of the stuff that was done to her. She's hoping to find that out so that she can actually bring it to her therapist and continue the healing process in regards to the damage and the trauma that was caused to her. So, but from what I'm being told, from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of very wealthy, bad people. It's actually scary to hear some of the stuff that was brought forward. And so I think the only way to collectively attack this is as a group and as a whole, meaning that Democrats and Republicans have to work together and back Comer subpoenas, because I think this is going to be pretty hairy.
Is there more information beyond these 33,000 pages?
Well, there's going to be names. The attorneys kept emphasizing you need to follow up on the names. These girls are not just making this up. These are some of the wealthiest people probably in the world. And we'll start from there.
So they named individual people that are part of this.
Apparently, in these files that just dropped, I have not been able to look over all the files. Again, there's 33,000
I'm talking about
pages.
in the meeting.
There are some people named, yes.
Were there any public officials that they named?
No, but very, very wealthy people have been named.
Can you name out?
They told us not to, because they don't want those people to start basically burning files. So I think this is a going criminal investigation for sure. I will say that what's been released, obviously the American people have wanted for a long time. Kudos to the DOJ for getting it to us. I know that some of the delay was due to redacting victim information, and so we'll see where it goes.
Alarmingly, the White House has labeled support for Massey's discharge petition as a hostile act to the administration. The 215 Republicans who have not voted in favor of it are claiming to be worried about the victims' identities. These people are utterly disgusting, and at this point, I don't care who it is. Every person involved in this disgusting scheme needs to be criminally prosecuted. I mean, these are people's daughters. Think about it that way. Like, If this was your daughter, if this was my daughter that was victimized by these disgusting pedophiles interested in child pornography, and they were covering it up to protect all of themselves, so to protect all of their own identities so they could keep their grips on power and influence, like how would you feel about that? I literally don't care if this wipes out half of our political and business class. We'll get them out and we'll start fresh. I am so sick and tired of these elites, regardless of their political affiliation, not being held accountable for their actions. If you are on the side of child porn and pedophilia and whatever degeneracy went on with Jeffrey Epstein, I'm against you. And you have no business holding any position of power or influence. Get them out. I'm Zach Costello.